Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening or afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Shireen Atassi, and I am the director of the Atassi Foundation. The Atassi Foundation is a family initiative that my parents actually set up. They founded it. And basically, it is because we deeply believe in the power of art and culture in shaping our society. And our role, really, what our purpose is to promote and preserve Syrian art and culture and create knowledge around it. And one of our main programs is actually called MASA, Modern Art of Syria Archive. And that is a repository of primary and secondary documentation on Syrian art in the 20th century. And it is, I'm sad to say, but it is pretty much the only such initiative in Syria. We're growing quite fast, so we already have 5 archive materials on the website, on the platform, over 3,800 records. We have over 110 books. So, and this is growing very fast. So we're very excited. We're happy to be doing what we're doing. And we obviously can't do whatever we do without working closely with friends and family. Now, MASA Talks is a big part of the effort for us to activate the archives. So it takes MASA as a starting point, but it is not only about MASA. What we're hoping to do is to take it as a starting point and drive interest in the material, explore the material on our platforms, talk to artists, talk to other archive initiatives. So we're not the only one. We're the only ones working on art archives, probably, in the way that we do it in Syria. But there are other archives, and we have hosted people before, such as the design archive, the Syrian Design Archive, and I think Kinda is amongst us today. So to cut it short, so basically, MASA is a big program for us. MASA Talks is our way of activating it and making the archives more alive. This program, MASA Talks, is curated by my wonderful colleague, Mathilde Ayoub, who will tell us more about today's session and our guest. And I hope we all enjoy it. So what we'll do is we'll have the presentation, and then there'll be time for questions and answers. And one last thing, I need to tell you that this session is recorded, will be uploaded on YouTube. Thank you, Mathilde and Bady, for being with us, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Shireen. So today we have the immense pleasure to welcome Bady Dalloul for this second session under the thematic that we called Artists as Archivists, in which we will invite contemporary artists to talk about around their practice and around the role of archive in their practice. So today we are happy to host Bady Dalloul, which is a French-Syrian artist. He was born in Paris. He studied at École Nationale des Beaux-Arts in Paris, and he graduated in 2015 with the jury's congratulation. He is now living between Dubai and Paris, Japan. In his work, the artist invites us to question the writing of history. He creates a dialogue between archive and fiction, imagination and reality, using material from different sources and countries. So we will talk a lot about the material that you're using, Bady. He uses also writing, collage, drawings that he mixes to invent a new narrative. So it's important for us to say that Bady Dalloul is a young artist, but his work is really well renowned and is shown in a lot of important exhibition, and also his work are in permanent collections. For example, in the Mori Museum in Japan, but also in the Centre Pompidou in Paris, and Institut du Monde Arabe and Calis Art Foundation. He also received several prizes, the prize for contemporary Arab creation from Institut du Monde Arabe, and he also was exhibited at the Palais de Tokyo, and the IMAM in Valence, and also the Mori Art Museum. It's important also to say that there is a few days left to discover his exhibition, his personal exhibition at Jamil Art Center, which is called Self-Portrait with a Cat I Don't Have, which is created by Lucas Morin. And this exhibition is in 3 chapters, and we will have time to talk about it later. So thank you so much, Bady, for being here today. We are happy to have you. Maybe to begin our conversation, I would like to talk about this self-portrait, which you name Self-Portrait with a Cat I Don't Have, which is also the title of the current exhibition at Jamil. Maybe I will start to ask you about the material you used in this self-portrait. It seems to be a collage with different material in a box. You're mixing here reference to also another artistic portrait with Sino-Japanese war and also with some elements of your everyday life in Japan. So maybe my first question would be, can we say this portrait represents your work and the use of archive in your practice?
Thank you, Mathilde, for this amazing introduction. Thank you, Shireen, for having me. It's a pleasure to be among you today. This work that you're seeing, Self-Portrait with a Cat I Don't Have, is my first self-portrait, in fact. But it's a very significant one for me as there are several materials, several ways and the practice that I do that really is part of what you see here. This self-portrait was made initially when I 1 year after I migrated to Tokyo, to Japan. At the time I was reading this beautiful book by Hussein al-Barghouti, Palestinian author who has himself migrated in different circumstances to the west coast of the United States 20 years earlier. And he was working at night. He describes his work at night in this book. What he was seeing in the West Coast was very different from what I was seeing in Tokyo. But I felt we shared this feeling of being away from family, away from home, away from memories that were set in a certain place. Of course, my experience is very different from his. I'm fortunate to not be displaced, for instance, but the reason why people travel and find themselves in different places was probably a shared thought. So I did this self-portrait based on in fact a painting that was featured on the French translation of the book, which I have here. So as you can see, the composition is quite similar, as there is like a man in the middle holding a cat, which is slightly blue. I guess you can see it a bit. This portrait was made by an Egyptian surrealist, Abdelhadi al-Ghazar, of an art critic, Aimé Kassar, if I'm not mistaken. This is how I found myself doing a portrait, my first. I placed myself in this wooden box in which usually people eat. This is what we call a bento. I'm sure you've heard the term now. It's a meal box where you put some elements in one side of the box and some other elements that you don't want to mix and match with these on the other side of the box. But here it's me who's divided into two somehow. and you have scenes of Tokyo in the background in the collage that we see slightly on this view. And the scene you mentioned, Mathilde, rightly, about people fighting with flags that are old flags, the imperial flag of Japan and the imperial flag of China as well. Both flags have disappeared now. So you only see people fighting each other and the smoke in the background. So yes, I hope I answered your question, Mathilde.
To introduce you also by this self-portrait, but it was also the idea to talk about some of the techniques and medium you're using, because you're using a lot collage of founded material, and maybe we need to go back to the past and to start to talk from the beginning of your practice. If we look in the past, you have been starting playing. I use this word because I think you use it. You play with documents and archive before studying art with your brother Jad during your summer holidays in Damascus. Can you tell us maybe about this first experience and how it has shaped your practice?
Indeed. So the first work you saw is made nearly 20 years later, this book that you're seeing now. As you rightly said, we used to visit our family, my brother Jad and I, in Damascus nearly every summer during childhood. And you can imagine, like during these very long summers, we stayed also, like mostly when we were staying at home, we started imagining a game. And this is how we started, like, yeah, imagining that we were kings of fictitious countries. So Jad, my brother had at the time Jadland, and I, as I didn't speak English, I had Badland. Um, so in notebooks belonging to my grandfather, and we imagined and started writing every day and drawing and making collage, as you can see here, every day. The more we were doing things about these countries, the more they were existing to us. So we wrote in French, as it was the language we grew up in, as we are. My brother and I both were born in Paris. So this is why you'll have to bear my accent. I hope it will be okay. But it was like also somehow a way to understand our surroundings. As you can imagine, the TV was always on, as it is the case in many places until this day. And like seeing these news, but also seeing the differences between Paris, the place where we were born, and Damascus, where we were visiting often, was very, I think, inspiring for us. Very, very different as well in cultural terms, in political terms, of course. So there were many things we didn't understand at the time, but it was clear that we were in Syria, a place that was living the history in its present term every day. And I think this was something that we were aware of in a way or another through what we were hearing about around us, and what we were discussing as children as well at the time.
Thank you. And can we say that it is a beginning in your practice of the use of founded documents that you will sorry. So it's the beginning of the it's the beginning for you of using founded documents that then you will use in your practice. So here, for example, we see a notebook of origami that you found in Japan later, really later, after this, and you're collecting material and you use it as a beginning of a new narration. Maybe we can talk about this after, when you are an artist, when you start. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. So what we saw before with the Badland, Jadland notebooks were attempts to, gather material like found at home, immigration leaflets, but also like books, magazines that we were cutting into and starting putting on our notebooks. And this was done at that time, during teenage for years to come, but without knowing exactly what to do with it. Years later, what you see now is what I have done nearly at my graduation at the Beaux-Arts school in Paris. So I would say 15 years later. But as you can see, this practice of collecting material and writing about it is something I still do in a different way today. In here, in the scrapbook, which is made of a video of 48 minutes and a book of collage where you see these 2 pages. There is around also, like, I think 30 pages in this collage book, big perhaps as a A3 somehow. I imagined a parallel story here between the different countries of the Levant and the contemporary history of Japan. It's since 2014 that during a trip with my studio at the Fine Arts School of Paris, that we were lucky to go to Kyoto. It was my first time in Japan, and this first time will become something that will really have like a lasting impact on me, as I will be exhibiting in Japan after this for the next 10 years, every year. So it started in Kyoto, but gradually it went to also Tokyo and other places. And this book that you see was even exhibited at the Peace Memorial Museum in Hiroshima, the place where the actual bombing happened, unfortunately. So you see the images of a Japanese schoolgirl here on this double page, Sadako Sasaki, who was in fact radiated after this bombing, and try to find a way to continue to live, and in fact. Her friend told her that if she was folding 1,000 origami, she would find purpose in life somehow. Stop thinking about her illness and possibly heal and make her wish come true. And this is how I started my wish. I was not. I mean, I was very moved by her story, and I imagined that this book made of origami could be the missing origami of her wish, as she didn't completed the amount that was told about for fulfilling her wish. And yeah, I started collecting materials in it and writing about it through a personal perspective, which is in French, and through I tried to have like a cold history writing, which was in English. So you see different languages here as well in this book.
Thank you. And actually, it's so some of your works takes place from the Japanese history, but you're also in your work including element of the Syrian context. In this video that you're actually now exhibiting in Darat al-Funun in an exhibition which is called In the Same Hour, we can see 2 pairs of hands that are doing intervention on the Syrian map. So can we talk also about the Syrian context in this specific work, but also in your work in general?
Absolutely. So it's a work I have done 10 years ago here on a map dating from the 1920s. The time, in fact, where this very same region was divided into zones of influence and later on into the modern states that we know. But at the beginning in 1916, so 100 years ago, it started following a very quiet conversation, a very quiet correspondence between a French and a British diplomat in probably a drawing room and probably after lunch. And they were probably having pens as well. And imagining these zones of influence, I started doing with you can see two pairs of hands that are anonymous on this video. It lasts nearly 10 minutes, where they're drawing borders with the help of a rubber and a ruler and erasing them. And the more they're drawing it, the more the map itself deteriorates until it reaches a point of no return where it's completely torn apart. The more crazy, the more weird the tracing of these borders become as well over the minutes of this video. And the more irrational and illogical it seems to be making states out of this. I did on purpose not draw current borders, in fact, although some current borders are also made with like rulers as they're geometrical. But yeah, it was for me a moment when I was also imagining like a century after these drawings, how a state of mind, a subjective state of mind could become a reality, making us part of nations that are real and serious. It and possibly among our audience, we have now Lebanese, Palestinian, Jordanians, Iraqi or Syrians. So it's just a thought that.
Thank you. I like the way you're speaking about like the making of the history and like trying to imagine or trying to do a reenactment of what could have happened in this time with Sykes and Picot. We will talk later again about this reenactment because in the exhibition you did, you're having now at Jamil, you are doing quite a reenactment of your own life, of your own biography. But maybe before we talk about this exhibition, we can mention a big project that you've been doing since a long time, which is drawing in matchboxes. Maybe we can mention this work also and the relation this work have with a kind of a diary, but also with daily life, but also with history, also with actualities.
Thank you, Mathilde. In fact, so this here is 4 matchboxes of a group of, in all, 800 matchboxes that I have done since 2015 on a daily basis. The first matchbox I was doing back then was really in the middle of the horrific scenes we were all seeing on every screen that was happening in Syria at the time. People speaking in an Arabic accent that was very familiar to me, but saying things I could not relate to at all. Images, videos that were inundating every media around us, even here in Paris, from where I was seeing this with my family. And I think we were impacted, I think, as much as every Syrian and every, I think, person watching it to a certain extent. So I started drawing them. I think, you know, it may sound a bit strange, but the fact that I was drawing them was making them mine somehow, was my way to not digest them, but somehow just accept that they are existing in this reality. And it was over time a way also to compose my own narrative of images without talking about them straightforward. So in here, for instance, it's quite an intense group of four that I have done that I have finished last year, where you see mostly like Russian mercenaries, but also a Russian warplane being blessed by a cleric and a man in the middle of the road. So, but rest assured, not all images I draw are of this violence or strong symbolism that you see here. Some of them are softer, some of them depict over the years also my daily life. So over the years, this practice of doing like daily was my way to incorporate also images and things that were impacting me, but also um, part of my daily life. So you had like interiors of my living room sometimes in other drawings, uh, friends I was depicting, but alongside images that continues to flow and that have developed also in the last decade. So in 2015, we were in the middle of the violence, but let's say 2 or 3 years ago, uh, the nature of the images and the theme and the topics also evolved with Syria, but also incorporated images from elsewhere, from Dubai, where I was living, to other places like Iraq, but also Palestine, Japan, um, Jordan. Uh, it, it became, it opened to a wider scope.
So maybe we can travel to Japan now with you, with a big project that you've been doing there at the Villa Kujuyama for a few years ago. You moved to Japan, and you mentioned to me also that this project was a way to reenact the migration of your parents. So maybe we can talk about this project you did in Japan, and also to have a look to this collage. To see the materials that you're using in your collage. You were mentioning also the daily life. Here we see like the daily life of some character you've been imagining. So let's talk a bit about this Japanese experience that you had.
Thank you, Mathilde. Well, in here, you see three collages I did in 2021, the year I was awarded the Villa Kujuyama residency in Kyoto. Subsequently to this residency, as the country was still closed from COVID at the time, there was no person going in or out for a couple of months. I decided to apply for a proper residency card. And so in a way, it was, yes, a migration, a real migration. This somehow, from the beginning, I knew I was fortunate enough to be doing it in the lens of doing this with a certain comfort compared to, I'm sure, my parents or to friends or other people also who were less fortunate in their migration to other places when it was needed. But here, these are sketches that I have done during the making of a film that I have shared the link with the audience in the chat section. It's a YouTube link. Feel free to watch it after our conversation. And this film is named Ahmad the Japanese. It's about the migration of an archetypical character, a person that is not existing itself, but an amalgamation, a mix and match of different friends who have migrated and who have, I'm very grateful that they've shared their experience with me. So to keep their somehow not anonymity, but their trust, we imagined together that it like creating a fictitious character that will embody their story will be the easiest way to be talking about sometimes an exit from a place, but also talking about personal things in a softer way. I chose the name Ahmad because, or thanks to a poem of Mahmoud Darwish. He wrote it at the end of the 70s. Perhaps many in the audience will know it. It is named in Arabic Ahmad al-Za'tar or Ahmad al-Arabi مرات. And it is also about an archetypical character who is born in a camp, I think in Lebanon, and who can't find way to grow and find purpose in life because of hardship, because of occupation, because of a geopolitical situation that is, to say the least, quite impossible sometimes. And so the only solution becomes migration. More than 30 years after the writing of this poem by Mahmoud Darwish, it's fair to say that not much has changed. People continue to migrate and continue to find, unfortunately, better opportunities away than at home. And so what if, and this is how I applied to this residency, this arts residency, the Villa Kujoyama. What if Ahmed decided to become Japanese? And in the process, I did my own migration. A migration that was very different, but similar to the one my parents did, Ziad Dalloul and Leila Mrewid, in their 80s, in the 80s, to Paris. The contexts are very different, but the idea of changing places and finding purpose was, I guess, the same. So here, sorry, I speak a lot, but yes, to describe these three collage and drawings that you see, it was, so in the process of the film, you see several characters that are very exaggerated, very stereotypical, um, and you see their names in the caption below, and all of them are quite popular in the Japanese pop culture. So it was also a moment for me to research about who was supposedly from the Arab world or the Middle East, or supposedly, you know, coming from, you know, this Muslim background sometimes, um, in the Japanese context. And I found out that they have exactly the same Orientalist lens, somehow borrowed from Europe or America in this aspect. And I imagine these famous characters, one of them here in the middle, the Sheikh, which is pronounced the Sheikh, is a man who was famous for being the bad Arab wrestler on the wrestling scene for 20 years. The messenger of the moon. Here I imagined him with dry cleaning problems, chasing villains. Gunin Abda on the left is living in a very ordinary kitchen. So you can see them also with I depict them and I drew their daily life, their living room, or ordinary kitchens, their pajamas, their possibly watch, and the floor plan of where they live sometimes.
Thank you so much, Bady. There is a lot of things in your answers, and I can focus on everything you said, but maybe I would like to focus on the question of the daily life and maybe of the autobiography and migration, because in your recent exhibition at Jamil Art Center, you have been reproducing your own apartment. There is on this image and the next one, you've been reproducing your own apartment in Japan also because the daily life, and you've been exhibiting the artwork in a domestic framework. Can we talk a bit about this exhibition and also about autobiography in your work?
Absolutely. So in an interview I did with Miss Thompson for the Atassi Foundation, I think maybe now 5 years ago, we started talking about the how history sometimes is a point of view. What is taught at school, for instance, is a point of view. It's the official point of view, and I'm not here to say that it's a wrong or a right point of view, but it's a point of view that's clear, and who draws borders are also in the light of this. But sometimes you can discuss it, and most of the time, you know how you discuss it. So in this exhibition here that you see at the Jamil Art Center in Dubai, I imagine my works exhibited in a domestic context. So you can see furniture, carpet on the ground, even AC if you look in the ceiling, and switches. And it may look like an ordinary place. It was so we have also skirting if you also pay attention. And yeah, it is meant to be a place where I could live. It is not a reproduction of my place. I do not intend to sacralize somehow where I live. Not at all. If you think about that, but on the contrary, I think that I do works that are also the size of my body, the scale of my body. So you'll see works that are not bigger than my hands. The matchboxes goes into the pocket. Many works, in fact, can't be done unless on a table, an ordinary sized table or a desk. And I think this over the years really started to, especially when I was moving from places to places, was something I kept in mind. We see in many exhibitions works that are 2 meters big, 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters. Fine, they're nice, but how does that relate to me? And I think everybody have their own approach to this. Mine is something that is similar to a domestic context. I've been also working at home forever. In fact, I've never had a studio that was separated from my place. I think it's fair to say that I also couldn't afford it also for a long time. So it was also making things organic and logical for me, working at home and doing things and exhibiting things within the context of a home here. So this is what you see on the picture. And this is what we started doing also at the Mori Museum before here. Yes, thank you, Mathilde. So in the context of the Mori Museum, it was a Japanese apartment with a floor plan that was similar to the place I was living into back then. And for Dubai, we decided to do a Dubai apartment, a very ordinary Dubai apartment. So there was no, the idea was always to have like an ordinary apartment in which we would show the works.
And also, I think it helps us as visitors to, as you were saying, to be like in your scale. And I was not meaning about sacralization, because I know you're not sacralizing, but we were seeing we were seeing the images of this character, and you imagining where are they living, what pajamas are they wearing, and it's quite the same here in this exhibition. We can imagine what is the context of this work and what is the context of where they were made. So maybe we will mention just, you mentioned already this movie Ahmad the Japanese that you did in Japan, and you share the link in the chat so people can look at it after. In this film also you are doing collage, but not with cutting paper and pasting it, but you're doing collage with a lot of material in the screen. You already presented it here. I just wanted to show this slide also because there is these pictures of also your childhood, and it was also a way to mention that you're always, even if it's not autobiographical or sacralizing, you're sometimes using some archive of your personal history that you're putting in the big history. And I like how this imbricates. Maybe it's like some poupée russe in which there is a bit of your story in the biggest history. So maybe just to conclude this conversation and to open then the conversation to the audience, I'd like to mention that as we were preparing this conversation with Bady, Bady was in Japan. We started to prepare MASA Talks with Atassi Foundation, and Atassi Foundation was sharing the great archive of the artist Ahmad Madoun. So it was a nice conversation we had with Bady, because I just shared it to Bady as I knew he was doing an investigation related to Syrian people in Japan. And just after I sent these images of this Syrian artist, Ahmad Madoun, who made a trip to Japan, Bady shared with me the movie Ahmad the Japanese in response to this picture of the Syrian artist. So this was actually the starting point of this interview, and we will so conclude the conversation by showing these few pictures. You can have a look also in MASA, in the website, to have more images of this Syrian artist in Japan, which was actually not doing an artistic trip or an artistic residency in Japan, but it was a travel. He was traveling for business. So it was a few decades before today and before Bady's project and before Ahmad the Japanese project of Bady. So thank you so much, Bady, for this amazing conversation. We will now open the conversation with the audience now. I will stop sharing the screen so we can see each other, and so we can if you have any questions to Bady, any things you would like to ask him, please manifest. Shirin, you have a question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Bady, first of all, thank you so much. Mathilde, can we stop sharing the screen? Sorry. Yeah, it's just easier for us to see each other. So I wanted to go back to the matchboxes. And I know I went to Jamil, obviously, and I did see there are tons of matchboxes. And I was trying to find connections. So I wanted to try and see if they were part of a story, or if they told a story, or if a set of them was telling a story that is not, that has no sequence or prequel or what have you. So can you tell us a little bit more on that? And then the size of the matchbox. You mentioned the size, but why a matchbox? Chocolate box is okay, but no, I'm joking. But yeah.
Thank you, Shireen. In fact, there are several things. When I was doing these matchboxes, the size of really matters for me, because I thought about in an exhibition context, when you go to see something, you had to go closer because it's a small matchbox. So you have to go closer to see the details, to understand the image. And by doing so, you pace the time that the audience will look at it somehow. Whereas I would say it's different when you're seeing something big, but your eyes can understand it and see it quicker. Whereas here, for the context of a small artwork, you have to walk a bit. So these several seconds creates attention as well. So when you're having a group of matchboxes, let's say, as in the previous image that we've seen, four matchboxes, for instance, or three or two, then it becomes a kind of sentence with ups and downs, and where you can make a combination of meanings. And this is, I think, also I find it interesting. So in all, this group of 200 becomes also a way to, it's like editing images of a movie somehow. You insert
Yeah. And I
images.
love how you're making the viewer um, the viewer is trying. You have to make an effort to walk forward, look carefully, try to weave these things together. And I love how the responsibility of seeing is so thrown at the viewer. Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I may.
أكيد.
Yes. But hi. Well, I don't really have a question as in a question, but I just wanted to say that I've seen photos of the exhibition. I haven't seen the exhibition yet, and I really look forward. I want to see it before it ends. But I've heard so much about it. I've heard so much about the artist and the practice of the artist, and I was honestly very much looking forward to actually see you in person and listen to you talking and explaining about your work. So really, thank you so much. I'm even more enthusiastic to go and actually see the exhibition. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. The exhibition, I think, also ends on the February 19th. So if I'm not mistaken, Thursday, if I'm in Dubai. But there
I
will
still
be,
have time.
yeah, you still have time. You still have time. There will be the exhibition will be moving. It's a moving exhibition, a roving exhibition to the Gulbenkian Museum in Lisbon later on
Amazing.
at the Gulbenkian Museum.
And maybe I have a question for you, Bady. If the exhibition is moving, what apartment will you do in Lisbon? Are you going to reproduce a Portuguese apartment, or do you already have any idea of the scenography? Of course, with the curator, you're working there.
That's a very good question, Mathilde. In fact, I can't do a Portuguese apartment as I haven't lived in Portugal, in Lisbon. And it would not be sincere, I think, on my side at least, to do such thing. So it will be a challenge because I think, yeah, still the domestic environment is an important thing to show the works, but we'll have to find a way with Elena de Freitas, the curator at the Gulbenkian, to imagine something else. I'm tempted to go towards the language of theater, as I have been collaborating with the Japanese playwright Yudai Kamisato last year, and imagining showing these works through the context of theater could be a possibility, for instance. Why not?
Okay, so we expect this exhibition to see what are you going to do. Stephanie, I see you have a question. Please.
I saw the exhibition in Dubai just recently, and I was blown away by it. I really fell in love with it. This is why I wanted to come and listen to you talk. I'm an artist myself. I'm a painter, and I was just very the idea that you just gave about the image being so small and giving time. I used to give the other argument that I make images so big because I'm very overwhelmed by the small images that we get through our phones and, you know, the oversaturation of images that we have in our current times. So I was very impressed by your counter argument, you know, for the small image. And I experienced it because I came closer to every small image that you created and every matchbox. And it was a different sense of time. It was a different sense of temporality. It was a different sense of experience. It was a different sense of it. That's why it blew my mind, because it was the opposite of everything that I would argue for now, you know, and it impressed me so much. And I was very happy to see the work, and I would go see it again and again if I was living in Dubai, you know, but I'm back in Beirut. And I kept telling everyone about it. And I'm like, I saw this exhibition, you know, and it was so good. And Bady Dalloul, and it was really, really good. Really, really good. I loved
Thank you
it.
so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your words. It means a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for your work.
Thank you.
I actually have another question. See, you're making my brain work, Bady. So my question is, there's such a mixture of reality, fiction, autobiography, the whole, and it's almost like we don't know where the one starts and the other ends. So where does the fiction start and where does the reality end and all of that? And I know you've spoken briefly about each one of the works, but how do you decide as a creative process, how do you decide where you're starting and where you're ending? Like, what is the start? Where is the point where you start thinking, okay, now the Ahmed the Japanese is going to start, like, as a process, as a thinking process? I'm trying to go behind in your head and think, where's the thinking process? How's it happening?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a difficult question as well, but it comes from a different perspective. First, I think the first one that comes to my mind is the legitimacy somehow. I think we're living in a world where this word comes often. Am I allowed to speak on this? Am I allowed to speak on behalf also? Who am I in this? And what's my relationship to the topic? Or when, for instance, you're having a very deep and interesting conversation with someone, and I would like to translate it into an artwork, partly. It has to be done in concert and in full knowledge and in full understanding with the other person as well. So there is as in a meaningful conversation, a back and forth, a question and an answer. So in this, I think you add to that the difficulty of being like in a word, as Stephanie mentioned earlier, where like we have so much information and like this doom scrolling and the source of information sometimes is very debatable, or it's quite it comes with a very strong point of view. And it's very polarized. That's the word I was searching for. You the personal in this context becomes a way to make it straightforward subjective. It's not objective. It doesn't intend to be objective. It's completely subjective. I'm embracing this. So by embracing the subjectivity, I'm embracing that it can be debatable. It can be, it's up to interpretation. It's not closed at all. So this is how you mix and match, I think, partly.
But also, could we say that the format of the work that you are using gives you some boundaries to mix and match fiction, reality, autobiography when you're doing it in a matchbox, or when you're doing it in a book, in a notebook? You are giving a frame to the fiction, to the history, to the reality, that maybe makes it easier to frame it, because you're not doing big works in there is like the linearity or the chronology of the book, and when the book is done, the story is done. Also in the matchbox you have this format that does not allow you to do a bigger thing, but maybe in the movie it was a different process also, because you don't have boundaries.
But absolutely, Mathilde. This is the thing as well. The format is the key thing. So when I'm drawing and framing the drawing in a small matchbox, it means something. People look at the matchbox and start thinking, so what's the relationship between putting a matchbox here? So there is always a strong relationship between the medium you use, what allows the medium, and what are the first straightforward question that comes with the use of this medium. So when you're using archives, it comes with something. When you're using found footage, it comes with something. When you're deciding to show a work in a bento box, it puts you in a daily domestic context. It's up to, I think, not only me who is doing it, but I think I keep in mind also what is the other person will be looking, what it will be seeing, and if it's too complicated, if the relationship is too far-fetched, then there is a broken link between the meaning, what it looks visually, and the concept overall. If one of them is stronger than the rest, the link is broken somehow, or yeah.
It's amazing
Thank
you
you.
about the harmony, because I was going to ask you earlier also, is there tension between all of these elements? And you just said it's the harmony. Yeah.
If it looks too far-fetched, then it has failed somehow. If it doesn't match your personal story, it has failed as well. And I think like, if I look at works that I have done since now 10, 15 years, I can see what works better than others, and like things I'm allowed to work with easier than before. The fact that I have been to Japan and I've lived there, for instance, makes it more understandable that there are Japanese elements in some works. Before that, people would question, what's this man of Syrian heritage using Japanese elements? It doesn't make sense. Why is he not sticking to things belonging to Syria or the Levant? So there is also such thing, I think, migration, but also how you mix and match your personal story into this makes it legible.
I don't know if someone else has a question. I do still have questions, so but I want to give the priority to our audience. Okay, so maybe I would ask you something about the play, the idea of playing in your work, because we didn't. Someone is speaking? No? Okay, we didn't show any of this work, but there is a few works that are actually some games that you have been interpreting and doing collage on it. For example, there is a nain jaune. I don't know if. So also you were speaking about domestic. You were speaking about the idea of playing while you were young with Jade. But also when you were mentioning Sykes and Picot, you're imagining them playing and drawing the borders of the country. Is there a specific relation you have, like, with the idea of playing with something ludic?
Thank you. Yes, I think the game, in fact, is the idea of the game. It started as a game with my brother first, and I think this still resonates in me today. What we're seeing every day on television with important people is somehow a big game in front of our screen. I think there is room for games and seeing games in everywhere if we look at it, in fact. As long as there is an interaction between several people, there is this idea of games. So I think in the context of my work, games here also evoke the randomness of the outcomes, and makes it accepted with subjectivity. We accept the outcome of it because we accepted the context of the game. So if you remember, when we were children, once together we accepted that we were playing together, there would be a certain way to play, and the outcome will be the result of this rule that we've set together somehow. So of course we would disagree sometimes, but it would just uh, be the reflection, the mirror of this. So when I'm borrowing from the language of game, of playing today, is this. I'm giving myself the context uh, to give an outcome, to produce an outcome.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure is mine.
Do we have other questions in the audience? It's a moment. If you want to speak with Bady Dalloul, is here. So, okay, maybe I will do the last question for you, Bady. So you mentioned that one of the upcoming project was to make this exhibition travel in Lisbon. Do you have? Can you tell us a bit about the upcoming projects? It could be this exhibition also, but if you have others projects that you want to share with us, if it's not secret.
I can speak about the Gulbenkian, the Lisbon exhibition, and this is not secret.
Okay, let's.
But in the light of this, yes. So there will be a lot of challenges, interesting, inspiring challenges happening, because the Gulbenkian also have a beautiful art collection. The history of the Gulbenkian Museum is founded by a Levantine as well, Mr. Gulbenkian, who was known as Mr. 5% in the oil field, in the oil sector of business in the 1920s. And this is how he started collecting antiquities from the Levant, from Egypt, but also from Japan and from other places. So maybe playing possibly with this beautiful archive in the light of my work, mixing and matching certain things will be something that I look forward to. But these are possibilities as well. Exploring still the idea of migration in theater with my friend Yudai Kamisato will be something that I still have in mind, as himself he is born in Peru. He's Japanese, but he's born in Peru, so he's part of a migrant community as well to Peru, and he has been featuring and writing about people who have been in and out of Japan as well in a similar way to what I've been doing in another part of the world. So translating these stories on stage will be something that we will be working on this year, hopefully.
Okay, so thank you very much. We hope your success in this project, and we will keep in touch to know more about this exhibition. There is the newsletter of Atassi Foundation that always gives information of Syrian artists and exhibitions. So we will keep the audience update of this project. Thank you so much, Bady, for this conversation. Maybe, Shirin, we can announce for the next MASA session, which will be in March with Lubna Hamad. It will be a session in Arabic, and the idea is that we are going to discuss with Lubna Hamad the creation of artist estates. So we hope to see you in March for the next MASA session. We are always happy to see new faces, new people. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. And I let Shirin have the last word of the conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone. Am I speaking? Yeah, I am speaking. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank you, Bady. I want to thank you, Mathilde. I want to thank everyone. I've seen Bady's work so many times, but still, I mean, every time there's always something more to discover, and I really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you, Mathilde. Thank you, everyone, and yeah, until our next session.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be in conversation with you all. Thank you
Super.
so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.